You're watching the Politicit podcast.
Good evening. Welcome to Politicit podcast. I'm Senator John Johnson. We've got Jon Atkin with us today, and Davis County Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
So how's that going?
Well, it's been a lot of work, that's for sure, but I think and I feel that it's going well. It's been quite an interesting process since I haven't gone through it before.
So you came out of the convention in first place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and that was very, very humbling experience to go through that, and reassuring and feeling that support from so many people. Been really at this process since about September of last year when I announced, because I felt if I'm going to do it and do it right, I got a lot of ground to cover, especially when it comes to local politics at the city, county, and state level.
Right.
And so I felt that was necessary to do a lot of that groundwork and research. And
so that's when you got in the race.
Correct. Yeah. Then officially filed in 1st of January.
So let's talk a little bit about you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So tell me about you.
How far back do you want to go?
Let's go back to high school.
High school. So I went to Clearfield High, swam on the swim team, loved it. Just prior to junior high, my parents separated and divorced after being married for about 20 years, and we know how that generally goes. When that happens, you move a lot. And so essentially every year and a half after that point, my mom and I were moving. So I went to Clearfield High, I went to Northridge High, and I actually was going through the process of finishing school before I went on an LDS mission. And I was kind of struggling to make it. It was like, you know what? I'm going to take my GED and I'm going to prepare for my mission. And so actually, that's the route I went.
Oh.
I ended up going and taking my GED, trying to hit the ground running with life, and then went on the mission.
That's cool.
Yeah.
To England.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Manchester, England. Great experience. Very eye-opening in many ways, because of course that's one of those things that I've never been there before. New experience all around. Didn't know anybody that lived there. And then also on the government side, going to a country like that and seeing how some socialized aspects of government function.
Right.
And being on the receiving end of government subsidized or social medicine within England.
Right.
And I remember when I had to get an x-ray there, it was probably about a 6 to 7 month wait just to get an x-ray. And it's like, man, I definitely felt that we had a better system here.
Right.
So, but no, I loved it. I love the people there. Still stay in contact. I've been back with my wife back in 2016. We went back together and went to some of the same areas.
So where did you go?
Manchester.
Manchester.
Yeah, so that's the northwest portion of England, and that also bleeds into Wales, which is beautiful countryside, and as well as up to the Lake District, up to the border, and very pretty. Rains a lot, but very green.
Right. So when your wife and you went back there, where did you go?
Mostly
that area.
Yeah, so mostly went to the areas that I had served, but went to go visit some close family members. I have a really close companion that I actually still speak with. I just talked to him on the phone yesterday, and he lives in Norway. He's Norwegian. Well, he's in Denmark now, but he's from Norway. But we actually met up. We flew over to Denmark when we went out to England and visited him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, had some good times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So what got you in this sheriff's race?
Oh man, I think what it comes down to, from what I've gone through, so last year, back up a little bit more. So I spent a little 14 years now in the military side of the National Guard. So that's a part-time position. I'm an Air Force intelligence officer over there. And so last year I got an opportunity to go over to Poland and to work NATO and U.S. missions in mission sets over there. Went over there, did that, phenomenal. Got to see some great things. Got to go to Auschwitz, and what a humbling experience that is. And then came back and started getting back involved with work at the sheriff's office. And yeah, I'm just going to be honest. I feel like for many things within public safety, I feel like we're starting to stray off, and we're not really being held to doing things that need to be done to really protect and prevent crime. I feel like too often law enforcement's been very reactionary. And I definitely am focused on being more proactive and finding ways and seeing how society is shifting, and to be able to get better at dealing with these problems before they really smack us in the face. At the sheriff's office particularly, I feel that we need to do better at listening to the folks that do the job every single day, and give them the resources and benefits and ability to be great at their job. They're the ones that are seeing the change in real time. They're the ones that are dealing with change the society. They're the ones that are facing the problems that we experience. And I feel like there's a disconnect in many ways, between the administrative level and the working level. And so that's really what spurred me into it, because my wife and we've lived in several different states. She was active duty Air Force, her dad was. And so she moved around a lot. I've lived in a few different states, and again, out of the country, over in England. But we chose Davis County to raise our kids.
Right.
And so I have a heavily vested interest. They're going to grade school there. And so I see and have concerns on the direction society is going, the world is going, and I don't feel like we're doing enough on the law enforcement side to prepare for these things, specifically cyber, artificial intelligence, crimes against children. I've worked in criminal investigations, and there's far too many sexual crimes against kids. And we know that bleeds and breeds a lot of other problems in society. We know when children are sexually assaulted, they're very much more likely to also sexually assault when they get older, but as well as have mental health problems and substance abuse problems for coping. And we know a lot of the problems we're dealing with in society is mental health and also substance. And so I feel like if there are ways that we can get better at dealing with these at the root, we should be doing more about that. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No. I think that's a good answer, though. I mean, it kind of paints a picture of who you are and what you really want to do. So what do you see in the sheriff's office that you could change? Or
Yeah. I like to talk and like to so I'm trying to work through doing this through an abbreviated version, but it might be long form story, so
no,
I
that's
apologize.
Fine. No.
So some of the things that I would like to see or like to change within the sheriff's office, I'd like to be far more agile and fluid and be able to address some of these problems, and also enhance the relationships we have throughout the county and state and city levels. So I mentioned back in September, I started going through this process to do the homework to build those relationships, because I feel too often on the law enforcement side historically has been a very authoritarian type rule, and I feel like that's also not been very beneficial. I like to think of trying to lead an organization through collaboration and working together and through education. And so when I announced I was running, I had a goal that I'm going to go to every single city council meeting in Davis County. I've gone to all of them, and most of them more than twice, because I understand that if we're going to accomplish some of these great goals, we need to be able to be on the same wavelength. So I've gone to all 15 city council meetings, met with all 13 law enforcement administrations, met with all 15 legislators in Davis County, because I feel those things are important. It's important if I want to be the elected sheriff to represent the people, to be on.
I noticed a lot of them have endorsed you.
Yeah, and honestly, that's been wonderful and very reassuring, and I feel it's beneficial. But what that means to me personally is they're open to, and they're putting their neck out there saying, yes, we've communicated and we've established a relationship, and we want to do what's best for everybody. And I truly feel that is the case, and that is what I'm after. I feel too often a lot of these government entities, we're kind of just dancing our own sheet of music. And my focus, again, for the military training and military leadership is strategic plans, strategic visions, and strategic goals. And that meaning, where is it that the sheriff's office, but also the county as a whole, where do we see ourselves in 5 years? We are very much like-minded folk. You can go from Clinton to West Point or West Point to Syracuse. We have very much the same values. Right. We want to make sure we have good schools, safe communities. And so our values align. And I've seen that there are duplicated efforts in some ways, maybe inefficiencies. And we know that taxes keep going up. I read recently that was at Roy City, they were talking about 50% increase. And the county, Davis County, was pushing for a 30% increase last year and ended up passing a 15%. And so that's what I'm also reviewing, is how can we have these strategic goals and visions and collaborate together? That way we can cut out the overlap, and then we can be able to deal with some of these problems at a more effective and efficient level, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm after with trying to make the change within the sheriff's office, is be far more fluid, be more agile to deal with the problems, but as well as have more of a communicative voice and advocacy for society when we talk about legislation, or if we talk about the work in progress on the ground within law enforcement itself.
Right. Well, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
We'll come right back.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
Tired of media bias? Frustrated by political noise? Politicit.com cuts through the clutter, giving you real facts, clear analysis, and unbiased insight on the issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay empowered. Whether it's elections, policy changes, or breaking news, we've got you covered. No spin, no agendas, just truth you can trust. Visit Politicit.com today, because informed citizens shape the future. Politicit.com, where politics meets clarity.
Welcome back to Politicit. We're talking to Jon Atkin. So nice to have you on here.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about your, your strategy, your goals, for the sheriff's office.
Yeah. Great question. Love it. Strategy and goals. So as I've gone through this campaign, I haven't paid for any campaign manager, because I feel like it's incumbent on me to be authentic and speak truly to the problems and issues that we're facing. Some of the goals that I have, is to be able to work closely together with other elected officials. That way we can actually deal with a lot of the problems that we face in society. I also love the fact of talking about having greater outreach. I've often thought about maybe even the school district, how we do a lot of interaction throughout the community with toddler age, little kids, but
right.
I am far more concerned with kids at these ages,
right.
Teenagers that really are faced with society pulling them in several different directions. Growing up, I largely grew up in a single parent household with a single mom. Before my parents separated and divorced, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and then she turned into a working mom. My dad lived out of the state for most of the time, and I came close to making bad decisions.
Right.
And I made some that, I probably wasn't the smartest, but I corrected my life. I went on the mission. I came back, met my wonderful wife, Sarah. We got married, went through college, joined the military. Currently, I'm working at the Sheriff's Office, Internal Affairs. I work actually part-time as a firefighter paramedic at North Davis Fire, and also the part-time job within the Utah National Guard as Air Force Intelligence Officer. Past 4 years, I've held all three of these jobs, being able to manage my careers and my family back home. 4 young kids, junior high to elementary school.
Oh, wow.
With a very much invested interest.
Still young kid.
Yeah, and a very much an invested interest in our community. And so my goals are for us to be able to find ways to be able to be proactive in dealing with problems, but as well as one unique situation that I have within the Sheriff's Office is, unlike my competitor, I've been working there for the past 9 years, and I'm currently there now. I see much of the problems and issues that we face internally, and as well as at county at large. And I want to be able to not just, I've said this like 20 times, react to problems, but where can we get to the root? And so my goals are to develop and sustain great relationships with mayors, legislators, and law enforcement agencies throughout Davis County. Find ways that we can get on the same page so we can save money and we can be better at what we do. Within the Sheriff's Office, and I don't mean this as a dig, but hold administrators accountable. Within Internal Affairs, I've conducted investigations in every single aspect within the office itself, from corrections to patrol to court security, all around. I see consistently that line level folks are held accountable, which is fantastic. We should be. But then I sometimes, unfortunately, I question whether it goes that way with administration. And so I feel like, again, what can we do so we can be equal across the board? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go down these rabbit holes because my mind goes, but I love talking about these things and talking about issues and problems and how we can get better and be held more accountable, because I feel like that's incumbent on all of us.
So let's compare yourself with your opponent.
Okay.
So where do you see your strengths?
Yeah, I see my strengths that, law enforcement, traditionally, it's been a 20-year career, and it's been that way for a reason. Traditionally, it's 20 years, and then you can retire and kind of move on. Then it changed to the 25-year program that we currently have. And I think that's by design. You go to the school or you go to the education system, it's like 30 or 35 years to be able to retire, and a lot of the state positions are that way. And again, I think it's that way for a reason. It's designed that way for a reason. because the common age for criminals doesn't change. And this is a job that you need to be fully vested, passionate, and driven. Because if we're not, we're, again, going to be very much reactionary. I know that I don't have all the answers. But sometimes we see folk that's been in these jobs for so long, they think that they do have all the answers because they have a substantial amount of experience within that realm.
Right.
I also feel like that's also a disadvantage. I've been a part of 8 professional organizations throughout my careers. Again, I worked part-time at the fire department, at full-time at the sheriff's office, in the military. I was first started out in the Army side as an Army military police guy, went to the Air Force Security Forces, the military police element, spent about 7 years on the SWAT team in Davis County, where I was one of the team leaders, and I came off that last year when I decided to run. But again, what separates me is I currently work at the sheriff's office, currently employed within law enforcement. Unlike my competitor, I went through the convention process. I know there's a lot of debates and discussions about that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I put in all that work by myself. I didn't go the campaign manager route. I didn't pay for signatures. I knocked on the doors. I made those phone calls to really show that I could be tested. I can answer the questions, so I know what I'm talking about, and that I am deeply interested in developing these relationships. I've gone around and spoke with several mayors, and it was unfortunate. I won't say what cities, but some of the mayors, as I was telling them I was running for office, and then I'd get comments, well, we've never had a sheriff candidate come to our city council meeting before.
Right.
And then also answers that I've never met the sheriff. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know his name. I'm like, that's also a problem. I very much want to be that face for the people, and I believe I can do that through working with our elected mayors. It's hard to get through 380,000 people in Davis County, but I can get back to the mayors and the legislators. And hopefully that shows that within one important element I really feel that is important is, since I work at the sheriff's office currently, I see some of the flaws, I see some of the problems, I see some of the people that, when you get into government, sometimes you have people that are there that aren't doing their best job.
Right.
And then in the private realm, it's easy to deal with, but in the government realm, it's harder to deal with. And I feel like there needs to be more accountability on those levels, because I like to equate the folks that are doing the job every day are similar to, well, let's say a third-generation farmer. You have a third-generation farmer, the CEO of John Deere, and I would ask you, which one is the most innovative and creative out of those two? And most people would probably say that third-generation farmer. They do the job every day. They need to have that ingenuity, that creativity, that original thought. And I think far too often we get in the high positions within any organization, and we think we always know what's best, and we stop listening to the people doing the job every day. And so that is what I bring. I bring the voice of the people doing the job every day. I have a closer connection to that and a pulse on society. I've lived and worked in Davis County, for a substantial period of time.
So how long have you been at the sheriff's office?
Yeah, so I've been there for 9 years. When I came over, before I came over, I was working for the Department of Natural Resources as a law enforcement park ranger. Loved it, loved working outdoors. We'd go all around on patrol boats, side-by-sides up in the mountains, out to the Great Salt Lake, patrol that area. It was great, but as my family started getting older, these jobs we work as a Department of Natural Resource law enforcement officer. We work when everybody's recreating. That's holidays and weekends. Right. And that wasn't conducive to family life. So the sheriff's office, I went on a ride with them and said, hey, we'll send you through paramedic school. You already have your bachelor's. You already have your prerequisites for paramedicine. And so they hired me. I went to work in court security, finished up my paramedicine certificate at Weber State, worked patrol, worked in criminal investigations, worked in child abduction unit within Davis County, then currently within internal affairs. Written policy, work in policy, managed budgets, managed training for the office. So very much see how all these things function and how they run as a whole.
So you've kind of been in a lot of different positions.
Yeah, and I think one element I'll say that, I haven't worked in the corrections side, but again, with working internal affairs, for some more breadth of that, my job is to understand the policy and how things should run, and then also evaluate that whenever I do investigations on employees of the sheriff's office, which is about 300. And so I have to become, in a sense, subject matter expert within every avenue within the sheriff's office to know what the policy and procedures are for appropriate action, if that makes sense.
Right.
So, no, Well, I think maybe it shows I love doing these jobs. I love being a cop. I love firefighter. I love working in the military. And I'll add this last plug that I know as a dad, there's no way I can do it all. That I'm largely going to have to trust society and our community to help pick up the difference where I miss as a father. I noticed that when I was growing up.
Right.
You know, I depended heavily on the community and the people that were close to me that were not family. I depended on the family too, but if it wasn't for those people outside the family, I definitely wouldn't be sitting in the seat today. And so I understand that as a huge element, and I want to try to protect and preserve that for our children and grandchildren and for the future.
Well, we're about out of time.
Okay.
So let's look at that camera and
Okay.
why should people vote for Jon Atkin?
Well, folks, I do talk a lot, so I apologize, but I hope it goes to show that I do love this profession. I absolutely do. I love Davis County. I've lived outside the state, lived outside the country. This is where we decided to settle down. As a current employee, sergeant within Davis County Sheriff's Office, I see things that we can do better. I know what we can do better, and I want to help fix that. I want to help be a good, proactive law enforcement agency while still protecting our constitutional rights. I know we always talk about accountability and transparency. Well, that's not just a sling term for me. That is absolutely what I will do. I will hold myself and I will hold those people I work with closely accountable. As a military Air Force intelligence officer, they've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into me to be able to perceive threats and find mitigating ways to deal with those. And as we look at the future of artificial intelligence, we look at cyber and what this means for our children, what this means for our seniors and society as a whole. I have worries that I haven't seen because I haven't seen law enforcement really stepping up to try to address some of these and prepare for them. I fear that we're going down the road that all too often we're going to be reactionary when there are methods and ways that we can be more proactive and be able to investigate these crimes and help lessen the blow from what that's going to mean for each and every one of us. I will work my tail end off. I've been tenacious through this process, ran my own campaign. I feel that my pulse is very much close to society and how things are running. Davis County, the median age is about 35. I'm a lot closer to that age than my competitor, but that's another story. And I feel that is something we've missed far too often within government, is the tenacious leader that is also respective of our own personal rights. And so that is what I'm after. I'm very much concerned about budgets. I'm concerned about people feeling strangled by the economy and through taxation. That is definitely on my mind. I've had many conversations with our commissioners, with our legislators, looking at our contract services with the U.S. Forest Service, with U.S. State Parks, in different avenues and people that we provide services to. All of these things are on my mind, and I believe we can do a far better job than we have historically. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jon Atkin.
Thank you.
See you guys next week.